The age-old question is like, will advanced technologies, AI in this case, replace jobs or create jobs or augment jobs, really? So where do you fall on that fence?
I think firmly on the side of that currently, where we are right now, AI should be used to augment and empower and make people into superhumans. I think just like with products like Cursor for engineering, where it took a senior engineer and made him a 100x engineer, at Avery, we're building the same thing for marketers, that it can take a mid-level overburdened marketer who doesn't have enough time to get things done and never gets time to be creative and strategic because they're just buried in these like operational drudgery workflows that we just got because of how the industry evolved. And it can make them superhuman so that they can do more with less time.
We're going through something absolutely historic.
Technologies across the board are growing exponentially.
It's a disruption that's going to completely redefine the way businesses compete.
In the next decade, we're going to lose 40% of today's Fortune 500 companies.
The exponential growth of computing is continuing.
AI is nowhere near its full potential.
Whether you like it or not, that the future cannot be stopped by anyone.
Welcome back to the Future Tech and Foresight podcast. I'm your AI host, Mark Verbenkoff's deepfake avatar, and this is episode number 201. In this episode, my guest and I take a forward-looking view on how artificial intelligence is transforming the world of marketing and content creation. We explore the rise of AI search engines like ChatGPT that are already driving more traffic than Google for some companies, and what this shift means for businesses that depend on visibility and reach. The discussion also examines Meta's vision of an AI-powered advertising platform, and whether independent creative agencies will be squeezed out by platforms that claim to do it all. At the same time, we reflect on why AI should be seen not as a replacement for marketers, but as a tool to free them from repetitive operational tasks so they can focus on strategy, storytelling, and creativity. We also look ahead to how social media may evolve as AI companions become more integrated into daily life, blurring the line between digital assistants and digital colleagues. Zack Holland is a Brooklyn-based startup founder, author, and go-to-market strategist rethinking the future of marketing. As the CEO and founder of Avery, the first AI-powered marketing manager, Zack is building tools that blend smart strategy, scalable content creation, and expert collaboration into one intuitive platform. A marketer turned AI entrepreneur, he's passionate about how technology can elevate creativity, empower teams, and redefine how businesses grow. All right, Zack, thanks for coming onto the podcast today to talk about something. I actually think it's come on to the podcast maybe 2 times, but it's been several months. So, the future of marketing and digital marketing, I'm very much looking forward to it because there's also been so many things that have changed over the last, we can definitely say 2 years, but 6 months. So I'm kind of curious to see what you have to bring to talk about that's new, that hasn't been touched on the podcast yet.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation. And yeah, 2 months even. It's AI definitely feels like a week is a month is a year at the moment. So
Yeah, for sure. Why don't we start with what brought you into the space? Was it like marketing first and then AI, or was it AI first and then marketing?
yeah, it definitely came from a place of marketing first, lifelong founder or supporting other startups and the occasional enterprise on the marketing side. And yeah, it came from a place of seeing far too many great products or great company leaders, struggle and die because they couldn't figure out the marketing side, built a cool product and couldn't get the right people there to see it. And, just kind of continuously being irked by how messy and fragmented a practice that should be about like creativity and strategy, it tends to be in the modern world.
Right. So I don't know how to frame the context that we want to talk about because there's just so much that has happened, especially over the last 2 years. I mean, it's been more than 2 years since ChatGPT. Do you think that you would want to speak to 1, 2, 3 main things that have happened in the last couple of years that have changed the marketing industry, if you will? We're going to focus obviously on the future and what's going to happen, but to give a little bit of context for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we were just talking about, what's happened in the last 2 years is not another little shift. It's not, it's the internet being invented. It's the first people deciding to put websites up, and in a practice like marketing, which has always been about how much data can I analyze, what can I do with that data, what can I go create with it that is actually coming from an accurate place. what's happened over the last couple of years with AI, it's foundationally changed what we consider the act of marketing. So I think there's lots to talk about at the high level, or how that breaks down into kind of the components of strategy development, content creation, what tools are we going to be using. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk to. So
Awesome. Do we maybe want to talk a little bit about the changing ecosystem, if you will? Like over the last couple of years, especially down in the States, there's been lots of talk about TikTok, and then with that, all the changes on the social media apps as well. Do you think that there's going to be like a continuing trend of one platform replacing another, or have like, let's say for instance, Meta have they become such a massive monopoly that the eyeballs are going to be constantly there for the next foreseeable years?
yeah, that's an interesting question, and I've always loved marketing because it's so inherently plugged into what's going on in every other facet of the world, right? As people spend more or less time on a social media platform, that completely changes marketing strategy and how people should be spending budgets and how they should be spending time. But honestly, I don't know if the future is, a new social media platform replacing TikTok, which replaces Instagram. I mean, I think you have like your stalwarts that are probably going to be there for the rest of our lives. I mean, people are going to be probably on Instagram and TikTok for at least for as long as I can predict in the future. But I think it's more about other parts of our daily lives becoming more social, and it's more about like everything we do online being kind of plugged into what our friends or our colleagues are up to. You see a lot of people pushing really cool, especially like new AI platforms that are taking things that didn't used to be very social, let's say like ad content creation, and building in like social components of those, where or even just Mid-Journey. When you get on a Mid-Journey to go to create something, a lot of the Mid-Journey experience is about like what's the community making, what's the network making. So I don't know if it's okay, because you have people like Sam Altman who's like working on a new social platform, right? That's really AI first. Will that one replace Instagram and replace TikTok? I don't think so. I think those pieces will probably always be there in the future. But I think it's more about us spending less time sitting and looking in front of one of those screens, and more of whatever we're doing being kind of plugged into the same like social ecosphere as everything else is that we're doing, versus either I'm on social or I'm off and I'm on Photoshop, right?
So kind of like one more seamless experience that blends into our normal day-to-day life.
Yeah, I think it's just that everything we do digitally will be socially inherently, instead of when I'm on Instagram, I'm being social, but now that I'm in Photoshop, I'm doing stuff alone. And of course, like it won't just be social with other humans, it'll be social with AI characters as well, right? And so it'll be like these consistent, I think, almost friends or colleague level individuals that we get to know and appreciate, and they get to know us really well, that are kind of ever present, making a lot of things we do social, right?
So, okay, super interesting. So then where are the marketing opportunities? I'm thinking like the Truman Show where, the wife is talking about, I think it was like coffee, like, freshly blended coffee or something like that. Is that where the new opportunities are going to be? It's going to be like subtle or not so subtle product placements in your interactions in these organic tools that we'll be using?
Yeah, I mean, there's already there's a few really, really interesting companies that have come up even over the last couple of months using AI to get your product more involved in the visual content that we all take in every day, but in more of like programmatic ways. And so instead of, a $10 million deal so that Mercedes is the car they're driving in the next Fast movie, but instead it's, okay, great, I have a book that I'm selling. I can programmatically get my book on the bookshelf bidding against other people who are also selling books in the next Hulu TV show that's constantly updating. And so as far as like product placement, yeah, I think things are going to be much more interchangeable in the content that we all intake on the TV show and movie side. But at the same time, I mean, the other spheres of that past product placement, yeah, it's got to be all about LLM search, right? It has to be about ChatGPT, knowing your company and wanting to suggest it, and making sure that your marketing strategies are building towards ChatGPT referring over your company just as much, if not soon more so, than Google search doing it, right?
That's a really interesting point. We've talked about it a couple times on the podcast, but it's always been kind of a throwaway point. Could we maybe to use the term that everybody's using now, double click on that for a moment.
Yeah.
Could you discuss like how important it is now and it's going to be that your, say your website, your product, what your business is going, like it needs to show up not just in ChatGPT, but in all these AI searches. And if you have any like data on the growing trend of this, is it like 2% of searches now or already 20%?
Yeah, yeah, it's exploding quickly, and of course, like, I mean, there's nothing that as a marketer, if I sit in a new seat at a new company right now and I'm kind of taking over the strategy, making sure that fundamentally from the code on our website being able to be usable by agents soon, right, and getting into MCP and stuff like that, whether it's writing your content a different way, with LLM search versus traditional SEO. Keywords don't really matter as much anymore. You're not trying to stuff keywords. It's more of semantic phrasing. So the way that you would talk about things in real life. There's things like TLDRs, like adding like summaries of what the blog's about in an AI native language at the bottom of your blogs. These kinds of things are super important. Just even at Avery, at our company, we built our content engine from the ground up to be readable by AI.
Mhm.
And we get much more traffic and many more demos booked from Grok and ChatGPT and Claude sending us traffic than we do Google search. I mean, I think the overall number is, I mean, Google still processes something like 4.5 trillion searches a year, but ChatGPT will process 1 trillion searches for individual products this year. And so it is growing quickly, and those numbers are going to continue to shift. I mean, just even, I'm sure you've started to feel it in my own user behavior. I don't really Google stuff anymore. I either ask ChatGPT because it's just so quickly connected to the top things on the web, or I use like Arc Search, which summarizes the first page of Google without me actually having to click into things. But the implications for that for the marketing industry are obviously huge because you're pulling Google Search, which is the main high impact way to be able to get at least the bottom funnel of traffic, and it always has been. So
Yeah. And so this is a trend that keeps coming up in the podcast discussions that I have. And it's not just marketing, it's all these industries that come onto the podcast. It's like the businesses that are not just aware of AI, but are starting to use it and starting to build towards it are the ones that are going to be relevant in the next, I mean, I don't even know if 5 years is too far out. Maybe it's just going to be,
yeah,
1 year, 2 year.
many of us will be here in 5 years.
Yeah.
We're tackling 2 years. I don't know if you've seen the big document that came out, AI 2027. Have you heard of that? Uh,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, there's a big paper that came out from some of the biggest people in AI, some of the biggest
Yep.
people in technology, kind of stating what the next couple of years will likely look like. And it's a pretty freaky future, which is how fast they predict things will be changing. But it's also, yeah, when AI starts to get to a place where, it's used in global warfare on the cyber side, where it's, and the pretty much the purpose of the doc is warning that if we don't protect and do things right now, in 2027, like the society as we know it won't exist the way that we predict. So 5 years today feels like predicting 100 years in the future
Right.
back in the day. But no, it's certainly true that we're in a place right now today where teams that aren't just like casually checking AI out, but are building to be a part of an AI forward future it's going to be the difference between, the shop that decided to get a website or waited until 10 years after the internet was around to finally get online and just got eaten by people that did.
Right. Or the example I like to use all the time, it's those horseshoe repairman businesses versus the businesses that are starting to make tires and axles and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's always been kind of like, okay, there was the internet and websites, and then there was mobile, and now AI is like that next massive wave. But it looks like AI is starting to look like it will have a bigger impact even then, like bringing people onto the internet. I mean, and just like your daily active life, there's not going to be a part of it that isn't being analyzed and hopefully improved by AI here pretty soon. So.
Hmm. And so you mentioned ChatGPT a number of times. You don't think that, well, I mean, it could be the winner, but something tangible for the audience, and correct me if I'm wrong here. It doesn't really matter which AI platform you're using or you're thinking about. It just matters that you're building for or marketing for these AI platforms, because ChatGPT could go away, in 6 months or something like that.
Yeah,
But
no, they just raised $40 billion. ChatGPT is not going away anytime soon.
yeah,
That'll be a company that's a part of our lives for just like Google and Meta for as long as we live now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, they're different, but it's almost like different channels. When you were optimizing for SEO, you'd optimize for Google and Bing, but obviously Google was a main priority. I think it's the same way where like Grok and Claude super important. But ChatGPT is the Google of the future, and OpenAI products are. I mean, it's good for us as consumers and builders that there is variety, that they're competing against each other on price and on quality, because it pushes the industry forward faster, and it makes sure that for those of us building an AI, it keeps costs low of the technology, because as soon as it's only one of them, the costs get ridiculously expensive, and the competition lowers quality of the work, right? And so
Right.
it's a good
Right.
thing for us there are so many, but at the same time, making sure that your company is navigable by agents that are coming from OpenAI, and that ChatGPT can find your product when people are asking semantic queries around it is definitely, I would say, the current priority, at least in how things have changed even over the last couple of months since OpenAI's massive round.
Mm. I guess this kind of opens up the door here about changing in work, right? The labor, employees, businesses themselves. This is always the age-old question is like, will advanced technologies, AI in this case, replace jobs or create jobs or augment jobs, really? So where do you fall on that fence?
Yeah, I think firmly on the side of that. Currently, where we are right now, AI should be used to augment and empower and make people into superhumans. I think just like with products like Cursor for engineering, where it took a senior engineer and made him a 100x engineer. At Avery, we're building the same thing for marketers, that it can take a mid-level overburdened marketer who doesn't have enough time to get things done and never gets time to be creative and strategic, because they're just like buried in these like operational drudgery workflows that we just got because of how the industry evolved. And it can make them superhuman, so that they can do more with less time. But yeah, it's hard to envision a future where traditional jobs in the sense aren't replaced by what AI capabilities will grow into. We're definitely living in a time where it should be used to augment currently, and even in the near future, humans guiding agentic workflows and being the kind of creative or almost like tastemakers behind what AI is doing. That will be the next phase, and I think that will be there for a bit longer than a lot of the futurists or people who've raised a bunch of venture to replace jobs would like you to know. But at the same time, it's hard to envision, 4 or 5 years down the line, like we were talking about, traditional jobs in the sense that we have them now still existing.
Right, right. So this recent um, discussion, or I think I can't remember if it was an interview or panel discussion with Mark Zuckerberg, saying that they're going to create a full service marketing uh, AI essentially within Meta, that as a business you'll just be able to tell Meta, I need this, right? And the whole platform creates it. Um, what's your perspective on that? Like, is that going to take several years, or is that going to be coming out um, sooner than that?
Yeah, well, I think a couple things. One, Meta traditionally moves a bit slower than people expect them
Mm.
to. Llama kind of traditionally been in this big old race, like a little bit behind most other things. They do a good job of stuff when they come out with it, but it tends to be a bit slower than Mark or executives kind of announce or publish and actually getting to a place where things are usable. But at the same time, yeah, that stirred up a bunch of people when Mark came out and talked about creative service agencies no longer being a part of things, because you should just trust Meta to build you the right stuff, report that things are going well, you drive sales for you. When obviously so many people have terrible experiences with how Meta measures things, right? I mean, there's amazing other companies that are now billion-dollar companies that all they do is help us actually figure out what is really going on inside of Meta, because the numbers are so hard to trust. And so the idea of not only just leaving the media buying and things like, in like Performance Max on Google, or, the AI buying systems on Meta, but also leaving my brand's creative direction and the actual ads that people will see to that same black box is a pretty terrifying future, I think, not just for marketers, but for brand owners and people who have developed brands that they're really proud of. At the same time, Meta sits on top of the largest accumulation of information about what creatives work and don't work of any company in history. So they'll definitely be able to come out with some cool products. At the same time, I don't have a ton of faith that Meta is going to roll out with a product that is so impactful that it takes away from the desire of people to still work with independent creative boutique agencies or real creative directors or designers or leads, or be able to have a third party, more independent product, be analyzing the information that Meta's telling us instead of just like trusting Meta to do everything with everything, at least in the mid market and the enterprise market. I think it will be a really impactful product for SMBs who, you're a tiny business, you can't afford a creative agency. Sometimes you can't even afford a designer. Having Meta just be able to kind of whip up template creatives for you, go out, test it, and then kind of iterate on them is definitely an important sounding product. And when Mark was talking about that, he was more talking about on the SMB side.
Okay, great. Yeah, I certainly hope that that is the future that we move into, and that they don't just force us all to use whatever kind of AI system that they're going to create. We've also had a lot of problems with some of these suggestions, shall we say that?
Yeah, anybody has, and or just in what's reported as a conversion, or as I mean, it's been a black box for a long time, and
Yeah.
Meta ads at the moment are more expensive than they've ever been for buyers. They're more ineffective than they've been in the last 8 years, and so it makes sense that they're trying to push on the creative side because more creative testing typically leads to lower ad costs.
Mm.
I think it's more of a way for them to make sure that they stay relevant more than it is like actually replacing things. Especially in the mid-market or enterprise where you're going to have more control over your brand and you're going to want to use different tools to be able to make sure that you're continuing to own the content that people are going to see at scale.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that kind of ties into something that's been on my mind. It's come up in other podcasts, not talking about marketing, but in general. This is the idea that as we move into this AI future where we can just call it content creation can be done at scale with all of these AI tools. Um, are we going to be, I mean, we're already kind of saturated right now with the amount of content, or you could even say overly saturated. Like, what do you see coming out? And I don't want to say 5 years, but in the next, 6 months or a
Yeah.
couple of years with, even individual creators being able to create high quality, at volume, content. Like, how's that gonna change things in your perspective?
Yeah, I love that question, mostly just because it's a core tenet of our business that we should be able to build tools that push creativity forward, not saturate the market with ever more AI slop. Our newsletter, the title of our newsletter at Avery's, "Don't Feed the Algorithm." It's like, don't create more stuff that is just there to like shove into these algorithms and fill people's feeds with. And I think that was like the first wave of AI tools, right? The first wave of AI tools was like, great, we can put LinkedIn comments on automatic, and we can just take one crappy ad and make 100 crappy ads with it. But the hope and definitely the vision that we're building for at Avery is that tools empower creative people to be more creative than they ever could be, to be able to remove them from operational processes that took away their ability to be creative because they just didn't have the time. And where we're in a future where, yes, you can iterate and be at scale faster with strong creativity, but where the difference on who wins in when you're building AI, if two companies are building AI, one is just taking suggestions, pushing out the same things all the time, and one is using AI to be creative, using the time they get back to almost get back to old school marketing where we're coming up with campaigns and like deeply creative and human elements of it. And then AI is scaling that creativity. Team B is going to win time and time and time again. And it's already becoming very, very clear what companies are taking what path. And
Mm.
you can see in the quality of the numbers, and then just you can tell from how people are reacting to that brand, the ones that are using AI to just create a bunch of repetitive slop, and the ones that are using it as a tool to trampoline creativity for really talented individuals.
Mm. So to me, if I'm hearing this, it kind of sounds like we're in a bit of a transition phase where companies are going down these two different paths, testing the responses from them, and again, I don't want to put a certain timeline on this, but at some point, there's going to be kind of an understanding that this path that you're talking about is the right path to take, and do you think that that's gonna you know, lofty point here, but change the internet in the sense that we'll have less of this brain rot, AI garbage, and higher quality things that more people can produce, and therefore elevate the quality of the things that we're all consuming on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think it's the optimistic view of the future, and it's one that I'm choosing to take at at least at the moment, is that, if we open up the ability for, any kid in any country who's written a script to be able to generate an animated movie with AI, that
Mm,
hopefully the quality of the stuff that make it to our eyeballs would increase, right? That if we're taking gates away and we're increasing the availability and democratizing access to being able to create, that it should increase the quality of the things that we do see if the platforms do a good job of celebrating quality over pushing like outdated algorithmic stuff that all too many of them are still doing now, right? And you would hope that across the board that quality increase is there from the ads that we see. I mean, the number one way that Americans will consume visual content is advertising, right? You'll see way more ads in your life than you will TV shows or movies. And so you hope that we're in a future where the ads that we see level up in creativity, because somebody who used to have a really cool idea but didn't know the right people to build that ad or didn't know how to use the tools the right way in natural language can communicate what they're looking for and build stuff that used to be kind of trapped in amazing creative people's heads, right? And my goal for the future is definitely that we're a part of that movement that is encouraging a more beautiful and artistic future that AI should unlock, not, we're just using it to just fill feeds more than ever before.
So, if I understood correctly, kind of the linchpin for option A versus option B is really the large platforms making that decision. Is that is that
I
is
think
that
it's
correct?
large platforms making the
Yeah.
decisions, and
Yeah.
I think there's a crucial aspect of who the human is driving the AI train. I think one of the employment roles that you're going to see pop up a lot are just like AI builders or AI users within companies that are looking at operational workflows you can build an agent for, that are looking at new tools constantly. And you're seeing this already in an enterprise. They've long had that like innovation role, but in like the mid-market, in like a series A or B startup, everybody was innovators. So you didn't need somebody to sit and just think about how could we use AI better in our business. But I think it's going to be a role that you see in almost every company. The coffee shop is going to have somebody who's like thinking about how to use AI better, or they're going to get left behind. And I think that person's role, and then if we're talking about creatives, there's a big process that has to happen with creatives right now as well, where they need to be able to learn to use these tools better to become, to unlock higher levels of creativity. And the ones that do and figure that out, and then that companies find and work with, are the ones that are going to unlock the B path. The ones that kind of rely on, let's say, Meta's automated creative studio right
You're right.
to ads, you're going to be able to see the differences between those two in quality, I think consistently and for a really long time.
Super interesting. Maybe going back to this idea of the two different kinds of ads and focusing a little bit more on the kind of creative, interesting ads. Do you think that there's going to be should I say this, like a shift in the ad structure? Like you're talking about them maybe being a little bit more interesting, maybe looking and feeling a little bit more organic to not just capture attention, but keep the attention in the ad. Like it's almost going to be turned into like a piece of content that's interesting for people that
Yeah,
people would
exactly.
normally
I think
post as like an organic thing. Yeah.
yeah, the line blurs between what is an ad and what is just consumable, interesting content.
Mm.
You've seen this for a long time on the enterprise side, like Yeti, they sell coolers, but the Yeti story series is so amazing, where they're following like a fly fisherman through India, and like that's just content you want to consume. And then he's wearing a Yeti hat. That's really the only way that it's a Yeti ad. But the ability for the average company, for you and I, when we go to run a marketing program, to be able to do that stuff has long been too expensive and too high, because you need video teams. And also, we're just so busy trying to hit all the things we know we need to do. You don't have the time to sit and be like, this would be a really cool video series. Or, man, like you could have an idea for a cool ad, but to make it, you have to go out and search for a good designer or a video person. That person has to help you build it. And then you put all that time and money for a month in one idea, versus if you could just sit down, put an idea into a tool and it would either make it for you or instantly connect you to the person that could actually get it done for you, you could test way more ideas. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely a version of the future that I'd like to hope in, is that ads become more of just interesting, creative content that is also pushing a brand's agenda, and that the most creative brands win.
That's super interesting and so positive, because I think it not only opens up the opportunity for, like, let's say, marketers in general to just think more creatively, and rather than,
Right.
creating this slop, it's it's a very interesting future, and maybe a little bit more positive than the one that we're transitioning into or out of. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm hoping that that kind of like the first slop era was like the origination of it, right? It was people first trying and just trying to use it to scale nonsense. And that now you're really in a time where the right tools are giving superpowers to really creative people
Yeah.
so that they can go out and build things that they could never have built before.
Yeah, super cool. And I obviously want to give you an opportunity. Like, how does Avery fit into this? What exactly are you guys doing to make this path happen?
Yeah, I mean, our entire mission is to, like, if you read our mission statement on the site, it's to unleash creativity from the confines of tedium, right? We used to be trapped down as marketers, especially, but anybody who's just running a business and has marketing on their plate, it's like, okay, yes, I have this cool idea to run for an ad, but our analytics aren't set up the right way, and I haven't written our SEO blog piece for the month, and I like I gotta, if I want to find a designer, I gotta go on Upwork and search 17 pages and chat with 30 people just to find somebody that I hope is good. There's so many. And then once you do find a person, all right, I gotta onboard them, I gotta train them, I have to do all this stuff. None of that is being creative. None of that is like freeing your time so that A, you can be more creative with your time, or B, another big goal of ours, that hopefully you can just live your life a little more, that you can like take that trip you felt like you couldn't take, or that you could get outside when you would have been locked in the office. And so, yeah, the way we do that is Avery, we call it the AI marketing manager. We trained custom models with some of the best marketers on the planet. So it runs on completely unique frameworks and has agentic flows in the background so that it's really thinking when you ask it a question, not just spitting back an LLM response. Take it into account way more context than any other tool when you ask it a marketing strategy question. So it knows not just what your company does and what the right thing for a company like yours should be doing, but it also knows, oh, you had a conversation with an expert on the platform 6 months ago, and this is what they suggested, and this is what you did from it, and this is how our analytics changed because of that. So our AI lead, Alex, has developed a memory system that allows it to really work like a superhuman. So uh, first, you have the strategy component. So building strategy for what you should be doing on Avery. That's hopefully pulling off the need for people to depend on like internet gurus and like fractional CMOs they've found that could guide them in a bad direction. And that we should be able to use data to say, for a company like yours and where your place is, this is the right way for you to invest to grow. The second piece that comes from a strategy is content creation, like we're talking about. And so really being able to arm the user with cool content creation tools. Our create mode, you can build everything from like a modern blog or ebook or white paper, but all the way into developing ads or social posts or images for anything that take into account who you are and what you're trying to do, but also has some like social pieces like we were talking about, from like what are other people building that's working well, and like some inspo pieces. Then the third big piece that separates us from anybody is there's a lot of times still where an AI tool will kind of let you down, where it's like, man, okay, it was cool that it did this, but I still have to go off and do all these other things. What makes Avery different is the agent will understand things that it can't do well and suggest working with a human expert to do it. And then from our ecosystem, match you up with the perfect human expert to do it, taking into account thousands of things like the personality that you type with, when you get irked when the person doesn't respond, everything about you and everything about all the suppliers, all the designers and the strategists and the creatives that are in the ecosystem, so that it can match you up. When you match up with somebody, it takes care of onboarding them, training them, granting them access to things. They have Avery's tools on their side as well, so they're becoming superhuman as well. And so that whether it's something that the AI could help you with, or whether it's still something you would have had to go off the AI tool, search for somebody to help you with, try to onboard them and train them, you can do all that in like 5 minutes that used to take you a month. And the goal is that because of that, you have more time to think about, all right, what's a cool way we can push this thing creatively, and what strategy should we really dive into that would have been, I only had time to do the top level, but now we have time to really dive deep and to really do a good job on it. And then of course, like the other goal is that marketing takes less bandwidth of people's time who has it on their plate so that they can be better founders, better product leads, and we can launch better products and more companies can survive and change the future.
That's awesome. Sounds like a super robust tool, product that you're building there. One of the things that really sparked my interest was at the beginning where you're talking about, it almost sounds like you're building a second brain or the opportunity to have a second brain built within this thing, and I think it's so, um, also connected to the larger topic of AI and these agentic tools that we're creating. The opportunity to recall things, like, I I'm sure just like myself, you have tons of ideas in your mind all the time, and they're just kind of like leaking from your head. And if you can kind of capture those in a system that is able to remind you or recalls like, "Hey, by the way, we talked about this 6 months ago. This is maybe a right time for, to try and test this marketing idea." I think that is, um I mean, maybe it's just my personal preference here, but I think it's incredibly powerful because there's so many opportunities that are just kind of dying because there's not enough time in the day to get things done.
Definitely. I mean, the memory system at Avery is really unique for a reason. It's because it's
Mhm.
so important in marketing. Marketing tends to have like kind of a revolving door of people. If you're a marketing leader, it's very rare that the mix of people you're working with right now are the same as you were working with 6 months ago. And when people leave, oftentimes they take their learnings with them.
Yes.
They take
Yes.
this kind of, and so having Avery be that second brain for the marketing function that even what a strategist or an advisor came in and helped you do on platform a year ago is still relevant to what you're doing now. And then absolutely, like you talked a little bit about how much it would unlock if one person's leaky thoughts were contained, but imagine an entire department
Yeah.
where now the entire team's leaky thoughts are contained and organized and easily findable. What that should unlock is, the future is definitely smaller and smaller marketing teams. Like there's no way around that. Some jobs are going to be replaced, and the marketing team of the future is going to, just like the engineering team of the future, it's going to be smaller and more nimble and more AI native. But that smaller marketing team needs something that is consistent. They still need ways to find specialists and to get them involved, or else they're going to be where they are right now, which is just smaller marketing teams that are more overburdened and more stressed and have less time to be creative.
Okay, super interesting. So, you also said this one point of these smaller AI, these smaller marketing teams need to be AI natives. Can we double click on that a little bit because this is a big trend that I keep hearing, irrespective of what industry, right? Industry agnostic.
Yeah.
It's such an important point to be well versed in how AI works with you, right? Can you talk to that a little bit? Otherwise, I'll
Of
ramble the
course. I
whole
mean,
day.
this is one of those big shifts that we were talking about earlier. I mean, when we were young, you had to put "I'm proficient in Microsoft Excel" on your resume, right? Like it was just like you had to do it, right? And even if, and there's different levels of that of how well you could excel on Excel. But I'm, convinced that the future will have on a marketer's resume, I'm proficient using Avery to be better at my job. Just like right now, engineers have to be proficient with Cursor or Lovable or whatever these like new apps are that are allowing them to be superhumans. Because right now, I wouldn't hire a marketer who isn't using Midjourney and photo image generation and these tools to get better at what they're doing because they'll just be more efficient. It's a standard of work for the future in this industry that you're going to have to be using the most advanced tools and that you're not just like trying them out, but that you've built them into your workflows and they've changed how you actually operate day to day. It's happened in engineering first, but it's coming really fast for marketing right behind it, where, if you hire one marketer who can use agents and the right AI tools, they will outperform a four-person, more legacy marketing team that is just trying to do things the way that we did them even 2, 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and that is, not just for engineering and marketing, but that is gonna be, I think, across most industries over the next, again, pick a timeline, 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. It's a really fascinating world.
Every
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
them, it's like, it's not healthcare. Every single industry is changing really quickly. And I think it's like, if you're trying to go out and get a job as a young marketer, you should now be the best of anybody at the organization because you're young and you have the opportunity to learn these new AI tools fast. So it's like the way to compete with these more like senior individuals now is just be 10 times better on the most recent and most new AI tools that you can be. Right.
Yeah, that's so cool. So maybe there's a little bit out of scope, but what do you think happens to those people that don't keep up with the times, keep up with AI agents, how to use ChatGPT, etc. Maybe a bit of a
Yeah,
darker
I mean, you better hope
discussion.
that like your dad is your boss or something like that, because I mean, it won't be relevant. I mean, it's like hiring a marketer in 2008 that didn't know that the internet existed. It just
Mm.
it is a modern way of work now already, and not like in 5 years, but like right this second. And I think it's cool because if you do become one of these AI native people, you also, because the whole industry is changing so fast, if you're working with software, like let's say that you work with a new tool and you're an early customer on it, you really get to shape the future based on your feedback and what you wish existed. And so I mean, our customers, Avery is the way it is, not because I had some genius idea. It's because the start, I wish that problem was a little bit better. And then it was like working really closely with amazing customers who were like, this is the way that I'm still wasting time. This is what's still annoying for me.
Yeah.
And if you're on the edge and you're working with other early teams, you get to shape the future of how these things work to make your job the way that you wish it was, instead of having other people shape the future and you're just trying to fit into it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, perfect. I see our time is winding down here a little bit. I always like to end the conversation on the future, but we've been talking about that for the most part, which is great. I do want to go back to this one point you were talking about, like democratizing these tools and how these tools are going to be picked up across the world, right? And maybe people that haven't been on the internet for the last decade or something like that. Could you talk a little bit more about, like, this is a big question. Maybe it's you need to refine it a little bit, but like how the world of marketing is going to change with respect to this point of people that haven't been able to have their voices heard, their stories told, their ads go out there. How that's going to change. I don't know about the world, but like marketing in general and businesses and advertising. If you've thought about that a little bit further.
Yeah, it's definitely something we think a lot about, in that one of the most, I think, important things that we could do as an AI company is level the playing field a little bit, democratize the access to great marketing to people that normally didn't have it. The like mom and pop shop that has no idea how to get more people into their shop should have access to be able to work with an AI that can guide them in the right direction, not have the local agency take advantage of them and charge them a ridiculous retainer to do the same three things they do for everybody else, right? And the goal would be that then more of these amazing early stage startups, more of these more family owned or mom and pop businesses can compete in the modern world with enterprise customer and enterprise systems and the large corporations, because at least one of these things that is a place to fall, like a tripping point for these teams, has been taken away, so that more people hopefully do cooler creative things, not just on the marketing side, but that empower cooler products that we never got to see because the marketing failed there. Or that mom and pop shop down the street doesn't have to go out of business and become a Starbucks, because they could actually get people in the door because they could figure out the right way to do it. And so I
Yeah,
think
I like that.
it's opening up the playing field, hopefully, from the very off base that it's been of those with the dollars to work with the best strategists and the best advisors and the best creative agencies, to anybody with a cool idea and a cool company and a cool product that people should be able to reach and know about. It should open up access to them. Right.
That's super interesting. I love this idea of the mom and pop shop sticking around and becoming competitive because of these democratized tool. That's super interesting. Um, okay, well, maybe one last question to connect that. What about like other countries that haven't been utilizing these tools at all, or many tools before? Like, there's, I can't remember the numbers, but let's say 1 billion or 2 billion people that aren't on the internet or haven't been, shall we say, as involved in the global economic system as much as possible. If these tools enable them to kind of even just get involved a little bit, like how do you see, and again with marketing in mind, how do you see that shifting things?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not limited to the mom and pop shop in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It's the store, that somebody who wants to open a store but has no idea how they would even go about getting on the internet and then figuring out and building a logo and like running some geo-targeted ads to get people in their store, whatever those things are. It should AI as like as a I think like a guiding light, like a North Star, should make super complex things more simple and easy and straightforward for a larger amount of people, right? And I think that on the marketing side, you hope that no matter where somebody is, if they could pull in and, just without even thinking about it, analyze massive amounts of data so that they could make the right decisions on how to take those even very first steps in starting a business, and how they would, how they would brand it, how they would talk about it, who their customers could be. We say marketing, but it's like, of course, like marketing is integral to like what the business is. It's like, how does it look? Who are your customers? How do you talk to them? And so if more people can do that well, you'd hope that more interesting and relevant and artistic and creative companies could be around, right?
Yeah, I think that's one. I think that's a perfect place to end the podcast, the discussion here. But two, I think it follows from your idea of like an optimistic future. It just sounds like a more interesting place, an interesting planet, civilization, whatever you want to call it, that we can all be a part of. Super interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
The glass is half full for us here.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, Zack, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Certainly gave me a couple other ideas that haven't come onto the podcast before, which is why I love hosting this podcast. I'll have your LinkedIn and Avery's website up on the show notes. Are there any other places that you want people to reach out or see what you guys are up to?
Yeah, no, come check out Avery. It's free to try and to start using. So hop on, book a demo, and I really enjoyed our conversation, Mark. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for your time. Cheers.
Cool.
Well, thanks for listening to this week's Future Tech and Foresight podcast. If you like what you've heard here, there are, of course, a number of ways that you can support the podcast. The best way would be to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or give a rating on Spotify, which you can find a step-by-step explanation for on the futuretechandforesight.com website. Alternatively, feel free to leave a comment either on the episode show notes or the YouTube channel where you can see video recordings of the interviews. And finally, if you are part of an organization that is aware of the disruptive and transformational impact that emerging and future technologies will bring and want to know more, please get in touch to hear about the strategic foresight services that we offer and how we can help future-proof your organization and take advantage of the phenomenal opportunities available to survive and thrive in the future.
A lot of future-shocked people and future-shocked institutions in our society. They're simply overwhelmed.
Once there is superintelligence, the fate of humanity may depend on what the superintelligence does.
Science fact is catching up to science fiction.
The first truly intelligent machine will be the last invention that humanity needs to make.
The only scarcity that will exist in the future is that which we decide to create ourselves as humans.
Within a 10-year design revolution, we can have all humanity living the highest standard of living anybody's ever known.
Progress is accelerating at an exponential pace, and it's going to reach a point where progress is so fast it's going to be a singularity.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens.
Every single headline points to the birth pangs of a Type 1 civilization.